In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Welcome to the Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire podcast. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Westra is Bester with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Big M. How are we, March?
Mate, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, so we're already we just spent the last 5 minutes trying to actually find a decent Wi-Fi signal where we can talk to each other and not patch out, and we haven't found one yet. So today's going to be interesting, and you might find that I do a lot of talking until Martin comes back on signal, and vice versa. So yeah, going to be
fun.
It's going to be fun. Going to be different, is what it is. So yeah, let's start with the Scarlet stuff first of all. So I know no main team and things like that, but let's do the Scarlets bit and the local bit, and then we'll do Wales after, and we'll go from there. So yeah, so first off, the girls were playing last Sunday at the Knoll against RGC. They drew 5-5, but quite an entertaining game by all accounts from the reports I've seen. What have you heard from the game, Matt?
Yeah, not too much different from you. It was a good game, a bit of a slog between the two sides, being so low scoring. But, I think both teams are really disheartened not to come away with a win. More often than not, a draw feels worse than a loss. But, they're under 18s. They're all very young in their career. And, it's just another game. It's another step forward. So carry on for both teams.
Yeah, and it's encouraging just to see girls. If you go back kind of, even 5-6 years ago, not that long ago, we didn't even have a Scarlets under 18s girls team. It was some girls playing at local level, and there were a few women's teams around, but there wasn't that age grade stepping stone. So the fact that those girls are there's something to aim for, and clubs are definitely seeing more girls turning up because of it, and that can only be a good thing, can't it? The more we get involved with, or the more girls that get involved with rugby, the better the game will be in the long run, in my opinion. Anyway, so on the girls' game now, we're hoping to speak to. Who are we hoping to speak to, mate, with the girls' teams?
Morgan, he's the head coach of the under 18s. We've got a provisional interview date in. So fingers crossed we can get that out to everyone within the next week or so.
Cool. That'll be good. Just kind of getting to know. We said last week, didn't we, about getting to know the girls' teams better. Giving them a bit more publicity and what have you. So yeah, the more we can do to support that, the better.
Yeah, and finding out how their system works, how their pathway works. Because obviously it's pretty well detailed how the boys' side of the game works. You have your under 15 schools, and you go and start the academy trials, your college. But the girls' side there's just next to nothing out there. So it'll be interesting to find out, what girls should be looking at what level if they want to, really take it seriously. Yeah,
absolutely, and fair play to them. So then we move on to the boys. And I've got a story to tell you on this one. So aside from the whole playing at 1:00 on a Sunday at a school in Neath, I know it was a rearranged game, but Port Talbot it was. Yeah, I know it was a rearranged game and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just sod's law. So I'll come back to the game in a minute. After the game, right? So the boy comes home for the weekend. He drove his car up to the game. We followed him up. Was saying goodbye after, about to drive off. Noticed he had a flat tire, right? So then opened the boot, lovely jubbly, and everybody else is buggering off now. Yeah, because it's game over. So car park's emptying. So looked in a back tire in the spare wheel, and he's not got a spare wheel. He's got one of those inflation kit things, which if anybody's got one,
nice.
yeah, if anybody's got one of them, go buy yourself a spare tire because they're crap. Absolute, and it took me 20 odd minutes, half an hour of trying to get that stupid thing to work. No joy at all. So then we had to phone car rescue. So in the meantime, the boy's taking somebody else back to Hartbury. So the other guy, he's called his parents. They've come back, picked them two up. So my boy's on his way to Hartbury. And I said, it's okay, don't worry. I'll rescue the car back home and I'll come see you. I'll bring it to the game on Wednesday. So then it was going to take 2 hours for the rescue thing to get there. Then they turned up in 20 minutes, which was good. And then they said they weren't going to rescue the car. They'd take it to a car repair place and I could pick it up from there. It's 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. So we had a quiet chat in my really calm and controlled way. Yeah. So long and short of the story, we didn't get home until about 7, 8 o'clock on Sunday, and we came home without his car, and his car turned up on Monday after they'd lost it. I just, the rugby on Sunday then became incidental. You know, it was just a place where all the rubbish stuff happened. But anyway, I was so annoyed. By the end of last Sunday, I was so wound up. I was so annoyed. But it was quite a good game. The shame was with that game on Sunday was the pitch was really, really narrow. It was a 4G pitch. Like I say, new school, newly built school, all that kind of stuff. But it was just a really narrow pitch. And first half, you know, we were pretty much in control of the first half. We were doing well. We finished the first half 10-5 up, I think it was. And the second half, they just went, right, we're going to keep it in the forwards. And they upped the intensity. You know, Ospreys upped the intensity. And the more we tried to play rugby, the more kind of we threw interceptions when we should have scored. We were giving away silly penalties. We just kind of got rattled in that second half and they ran away with it. They didn't play an expansive game. They didn't play anything creative. They just went forwards. And then a couple of intercept tries. So, you know, it's one of those games that's frustrating. If we'd have played that game on the park, you know, Park of Scarlets, we would have just run around the outside of them constantly because they were defending really, really narrowly and leaving space around the outside all the time. But
so
that's
it sounds pretty similar to the first game against Cardiff, where they just tucked the ball up a jumper in the first half, and we didn't seem to have an answer for it.
Yeah, well, the Cardiff game was more to do with the wind and kicking, and just they controlled it more. But same thing, we tried to play an expansive game. And on Sunday, we probably, you know, in terms of skill set, we were probably on top. But what they did was they just kept it narrow. They played a really narrow game and just went batter. And I don't think we reacted to that quick enough. So we lost Tian Sparrow. So he's the open side that I keep going on about. So we lost him about halfway through the first half, and he's quite an influential player. He's guarantee him as a player for the future. So yeah, we did struggle, but you know there was still a lot of positives. Our inside centre, I've forgotten his name, but I think he's playing again tonight. So who was that now? Gabriel McDonald. So I haven't seen him before, or I might have seen him, I might have missed him, I don't know. But Gabriel McDonald, he had a cracking game at inside centre, really strong runner, strong tackle, and just kept the backs that backline moving a lot better than what we've had in the past. So yeah, he was a really good introduction to the team, and it was good to see Will Plessis back on the pitches again. So Will's been away for a while, so he came on.
Is it Plessis or is it Plessis? It sounds very South African.
Plessis, Plessis. I just call him Will. Blonde Will.
It's easier.
Yeah, Blonde Will.
Is it Big Will or?
I just call him Blonde Will because when he joined, his hair was absolutely insane. He had this big shock of blonde hair, So yeah, there was some really decent performances, some players to watch, and yeah. So fingers crossed, we can take what we learned from Sunday into tonight's match, because tonight there is another game. So let's have a. Where are we? Right. So yeah. So tonight we're playing at the Dragons, Dragons. Yeah, we're similar sort of a team. There are a couple of changes, I think, just because
a few changes from what I saw.
So that's 3 games inside 8 days is a bit of a hefty one. But from a Pembrokeshire point of view, Jack Delaney at number 8 is captain. So that's his first go at captain, which is a great thing. Will is back in at 7. Let's see, and then the 13, 14, 15. So we've got James Price, Yolo, and Fraser Jones. So all 3 of them played for Narberth together. Who played centres outside half and what have you at Narberth. So that's our kind of Pembrokeshire content there.
So what's the opinion on Fraser coming in at fullback? Because we seem to have gone through quite a few fullbacks already for the under-18s. Harry Fuller, Stefan Evans, Samuel Potter, and now Fraser slotting in.
Yeah, I think it's one of those positions, like Fraser's a 10 and an inside centre, but he's played at fullback. I think everybody's pretty much played at fullback at some point in their career. And what Fraser's got is a boot and a half. He's solid in defence, and from a kicking option, having him on the pitch for a kicking option, he's absolutely bang on. And when he runs at people, he's a strong, stocky player. So I guess we find out tonight. I don't think we got someone at fullback that kind of definitely puts their hands up and says this is my position. I think we do in kind of other places around the pitch, but that's a good thing. Having players who can move around and adapt. Particularly at this age group where. If you take Yolo actually started in the back row. that's where I put him in his first couple of games. But he's played 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 10 was a nightmare. He filled in at 10 on an emergency, and it was an experience for him. But same with Fraser. I think Fraser's played everywhere apart from wing. James Price, who's playing 13, he's played 12, 13, 15. In fact, he started at 10, so he's played 10, 12, 13, 15. So, there's a lot of experience, there's a lot of ball playing experience that I think can be a good thing. But I think you're right, we need to find a fullback and settle on a fullback is what we need to do. So...
Yeah, they're under 18s now, and maybe only a handful of these boys, 4 or 5, will make it professionally. But at the same time, if you want that opportunity, you need to start getting your specialist position down now. The chances are, if you go forward as a utility, there's people who are going to specialise, and you're not going to get selected over them.
I think that's the thing. There's a balance in line between being skilled in different positions and being a one-trick pony, if you like. So, yeah, I think the thing with under 18s now though is they're still developing the skill set, and being given the opportunity to play in different positions. Like you say, it may be that Fraser plays 15 tonight, it works well for him, and he goes, right, okay, this is where that's where I'm gonna stick to, and I can fill in at 12 or 10 if need be. But yeah, I guess we'll see tonight. I guess we'll see how that works out. But yeah, let's say there are a few changes in there. Last time we took the Dragons apart up front, but I think there's 6 differences in our pack compared to last time we played the Dragons. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Interesting on that one. So I will be posting from the game this evening because I have to go and take Yolo's car to him. And then I got to try and get back.
Stick the missus in his car and just tow it or something, or just both drive. It's up to you.
It's a nightmare because he's got to come down on the train. So he's coming down on the train. The train gets into Ystrad at 5:15. And if I wanted to get a train back home to Pembroke, the last train that leaves Pembroke, it would get into Pembroke at 10:30, and the last train leaves at 5:10 from Ystrad. You're like, seriously, this is how we run the transport system now? Just bloody ridiculous. I could cycle it quicker, honestly. But yeah, so it'll be there this evening. I'll be there this evening, and I will post a couple of updates like I did on Sunday. So I need to make it.
I think what we need to make everyone aware of is if you see this, disgruntled old man walking home towards Pembroke from Ystrad at some point tonight, his name's Lee. If you're kind enough to give him a lift, we will be thankful. But if you want to avoid him, he can look a bit scary at times.
I'm fine with all of that. It's just old. There's an old man.
You've got a boy in the under 18s, for Christ's sake. You're an old man.
That's not old, man. That's just kind of like I'm in the peak of life.
You've got a daughter in year 9. I feel bloody old.
Oh, yeah, it does make you feel old every now and again. It does. But yeah. So anyway, I need to make an apology because when I post stuff on social media, it automatically posts to Instagram now. Because a couple of years ago, we linked our Instagram and our Facebook pages together, but I don't do a lot of stuff on Instagram. So people are asking me for score updates on Instagram, but I'm putting the score updates on the post on Facebook. So it's not going to be any different tonight. I'll update the scores. So I'll put the main post out with, the boys are ready to go or whatever, or I might put a photo of a kickoff or something. And then I'll comment under that with the scores. But it won't show up on Instagram. So, yeah, sorry about that, but I'm trying to watch the game. I nearly missed one of the Ospreys tries. They scored a couple of tries in quick succession, and I was still posting the bloody score from the first one, and they nearly scored again. But yeah. So anyway,
haven't you developed a skill to type while not looking yet?
That's a kid's thing, that is, mate. That's a kid's thing. But so anyway, yeah. We also have under 16 season kicking off as well this evening.
Restarting, we should say.
Yes, yeah. They kind of played a few pre-season friendlies, didn't they? Did East and West? I
think they were trial games. I don't know if I'll try and find out if they're actually anything to do with the RAG competition.
I know now it's into the proper competition. So we've got Scarlets East and Scarlets West playing tonight. So Scarlets East are at the park. They're on the training pitch from 7:15. They're playing Dragons Black. And Scarlets West are at Cardiff Arms Park from 7:15. And they're playing Cardiff South. So playing on Cardiff Arms Park. It's quite a nice start. As we discussed before, being able to play on these big pitches is a great experience. So hang on now. So I've got what I did was I put it out and I said, right, tag in who's your local players, yeah. So I'm going to leave Duffy to last, and there's a reason for that. So from Haverfordwest, we've got Devin Williams, Rio Phillips, Logan Young, and Kieran Harris. Sorry, so that's 4 from Haverfordwest. Pembroke, we've got Zach Shaw, Bowen Clark, Owen Rickard, and Keanu Williams. So I know a couple of those boys. They're good quality players. They are. St Clair's, we've got Jack Vaughan, Scott Blackhouse, and Ocean Reese, which is cracking. And then from Tenby, we've got Ewan Duffy. Now, so Ewan Duffy's playing hooker, and if he's anything like his dad, then oh my God, the referee's just going to be going, son, quiet, fella, shut it. Oi, you be quiet. You too, be quiet. Because that's the way I played with and against his dad, and his dad Neil he's a lovely player. He's a great player, but he can talk twice as well as he can play. So yeah, well done, Duffy. Your boy's doing well, mate. He's doing a damn sight better than you did. So yes, lots of players on. Out for us this evening, and something to look forward to. So all the best to East and West in the games this evening. Right, yeah. So have the girls got their final fixture on Sunday as well? I'm sure.
Yeah, they are in Ystrad Mynach against Cardiff, as far as I know.
Yeah, so I think that's the last game, isn't it? Because the first one was at Cardiff Arms Park, and then it was RGC, then it was Llandudbury, Knoll for last week. So yeah, this must be the last one in Ystrad Mynach. So yeah, we will post teams for the girls' side on Sunday as and when we have them. And if anyone is going up to watch and fancies taking us a few photos or anything like that, then please do. We'd be delighted to have them on the page. And score updates as well. Would be great. So, is that it for Scarlets news?
Yeah, that's more or less it. There's a few fixtures in the under 15s, but it's not Pembrokeshire involved. We've got MMAD playing Rhondda at home. Who else have we got? I have got it here somewhere. If I can ever get down to it.
I think Pembrokeshire are playing Aberavon next week, aren't they? Next week,
yeah. That MMAD are in the actual Dewar Shield, so good on those boys keeping that in the top end. In the plate we got Carmarthen are travelling to face RGC East. Carmarthen haven't conceded a single point in their 2 games so far in this section, so they're looking pretty good. And then into the bottom competition, Ceredigion are travelling to Isline. And they lost their opening game to Cardiff A, so hopefully they can kick back up and carry on going.
Cool. Okay, so there's still plenty of rugby being played and going on, plenty enough to go out and watch. So what have we got from the local? Because it's all about rearranged games and early kickoffs because of the internet. So you're not allowed to play a local game while the national side is playing, basically. Is the rule. But there's lots of early kickoffs on this Saturday with games rearranged from a couple of weeks ago when it was bad weather and stuff like that. So what have you seen so far? What have you observed?
Yes, well, I've clocked that we've got 5 games going on this week. We've got in the championship, we've got Narberth travelling to Pontypool. That's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination.
One way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Pontypool have lost a game yet this season. So, as much as I'd love Narberth to come away with a win, it's not looking likely to happen. We drop into Division 1 West. We got lowly Pembroke at home to Wellingborough. And it's just same old story with Pembroke, and they can't buy a win.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough game again. whichever way around. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game.
And then another really difficult game. We got Whitland at home to Gowerton. And, we've been saying, where's Whitland? We're maybe hoping the win over Pembroke kickstarts something, but it doesn't seem very likely at the minute.
Yeah, I think when you're at that end of the table at this part of the season, just every game is a slog. I mean, I've seen the boys training, and there's attitude and enthusiasm from the boys when they're training, but it's taking that onto the park, innit, and doing something with it. Okay, so that's all the local stuff done. And if anybody's got any more kind of local games that pop up, rearranged, what have you, by all means, do pop them on our Facebook page and we'll promote them for you. Not a problem at all. So let's have a look at the Wales game on Saturday. How was the Wales game on Saturday for you, mate?
Oh, wow. I mean, I really wanted to turn the TV off. I really, really did. But I knew I was going to have to talk about it at some point, so I kind of had to, grin and bare my teeth,
force yourself through
it. I mean, okay, second half defensively, we did improve, but it was just poor from all accounts from the start. And we knew Ireland were going to come out fast. It's what they'd done all of last year. They come out of the block so fast, and we just didn't have anything to counteract that. I mean, everyone's been talking in the week and the month building up, the Gatland effect, blah blah blah. But I don't think we would have had a worse performance under Pivac, if I'm totally honest. It seems as though we've spent a lot of money, replacing coaches, and I know it's only the first game, but you expect some sort of backlash. You expect something, and we just didn't see any result whatsoever.
Yeah, and I was hoping for a bit more. I think it's weird. I think Gatland kind of shot himself in the foot where he came out and said that there were some players there that should have been retired a couple of years ago, and that we should be having youth coming through. And then he goes and selects Alan Wynne-Jones. And with the best will in the world, Alan Wynne-Jones's best is a couple of years in behind
about 5 years ago now, isn't it?
Yeah. And, by all means, bring him in as a line-out advisor, a line-out coach, a scrum coach or something. But, not as a, you can't have somebody like that on the pitch and expect him to play along the kind of same way that like Will Rowlands is a player that we're missing. If Will Rowlands had been available, then Alan Wynne-Jones wouldn't have been on the pitch. But I think it's if you're gonna slag somebody off for not doing something, then the very least you have to do is not do what you're slagging that person off for. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I honestly thought that. I know this Six Nations was going to be a bit of a wash. If we somehow managed to get a Grand Slam again, that would have been unreal. But it was never real a possibility. I thought that he was going to select a 15 that he wanted to see at the World Cup and give them these 5 games to gel and try and perform together. But he just selected old heads again, and I just can't see the logic in it. I mean, it's the biggest problem that we've got. I mean, we've got several, not just in their 30s, in their mid 30s. It's I know how great like Alan Wynne-Jones, Tiprick, even Ken Owens, the Sheriff. I know how great they can play, but the fact is they're all mid 30s. They shouldn't be anywhere near this squad.
Well, I think you've got to take each one on their merits. I think Ken's been playing quite well, but like I say, you get to 45, 50 minutes, and I think at URC level, Ken is probably 75, 80-minute player at URC. At international level, he's 50, 55 at best, whereas Alan Wynne-Jones is probably 30, 35 minutes. And I think that's the difference. Is at that level, you cannot have a player on the pitch that that isn't there for 80 minutes, you know?
Yeah, it's like I've got no issue with them being in the training, because obviously they have got a lot of experience on that side of it. But the fact is, you need those energy levels for the full 80, like you said, even if they're only playing 50, 55 minutes.
Yeah.
You need those sort of performances. And we always talk about, the speed of the rucks and how fast the game is going from the Welsh Prem to the URC to European rugby to international rugby. And it's just too much of a step up. I don't think we've got that good enough competition to bridge the gap. It is just a massive jump.
Well, I read a report on Sunday that spoke about the Gatland gap, where, when Gatland was there, first of all, we basically, when we were going into his last World Cup, we had a squad of 35 players for the previous 2 seasons, and that squad barely changed. So we didn't bring anybody new in, and it was all about those higher players. And it's players like Alan Wynne-Jones, Tipperick, Faletau, Ken, Bigger, players who were big name players, but we never started to blood players below them. So now we're in a position where we've got young players coming through. So for all the criticism of Pivac, that is part of that was his downfall, was blooding too many young players, trying to bring too many young players through and having inexperienced teams out. So you've either got them at the bottom end or you've got them at the very top end, and you've got very few players in the middle who are peak of career. You might look at Adam Beard, maybe, I'd say is in the right kind of frame. Thomas Williams, maybe. George North, but I still don't rate George North as a centre. I think if he's going to be anywhere, he's on the wing. And Josh Adams, I
100% agree with you on North. I think 90% of the population agrees the North is not a centre. Yeah. I mean, emergency, last 10, 15 minutes, if someone has to go off, fair enough. It's the same as Josh Adams when he's tried him. These boys are wingers. And, you just, it's okay to try them. Maybe, I know Gatland and Pivac probably look to New Zealand and look to someone like Rico Ioane, who started as a winger, and they pushed him in centre really, really early.
Yeah,
you can't make that switch, after someone's 25, 26. It's just too much to learn.
Particularly at that level, because you're working on very, very fine margins, and one little mistake and bang, that's a try, isn't it? Particularly against somebody like Ireland. But yeah, so what do you think will change for this weekend then? Where do you think the changes will come?
None. I don't think there's going to be any changes. I think he's going to say, look, you messed up last week, redeem yourself. That's been the Gatland moniker, is his mode of operation throughout the majority of his Wales tenure. If they messed up on one game badly, he'd give them a chance to put things right, and I think it's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, and I agree. I just don't think it's the right way to do it.
Oh no, not at all.
So, who would you like to see? What changes would you like to see?
In a dream world, I'd like Rhys Ahmed to be fit again, to come back into the back three, but we know he's not. I want to see Kieran Williams and Nick Tompkins together in the centre. I really do. I think they could complement each other massively, but it's just not going to happen. And back row, I think I'd like to see Faletau drop to the bench and try Wainwright at 8, just so we can try and get another option there, and have Morgan and Revel on the flanks, because, Tipperick really underperformed last week. I mean, he weren't even creating any problems in the ruck, and, that's his main job as a 7. I mean, Revel came on and there was a massive difference. I mean, I don't know how many balls he pinched, but their ruck speed slowed down massively with Revel on the pitch.
Yeah, and I agree with that. So I think what's his name? Prop Thomas. One of our props is out with a calf strain or something. So with Dylan Lewis to come in, I think that's what's been said.
What prop was it?
Thomas Francis, I think it was.
Oh,
yeah.
but Leon Brown's not 100% fit, so
yeah.
I know Dylan Lewis actually played pretty well when he came on, but I think he's only had one game in the last month besides last week.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. We're picking players who are not on form or barely playing.
Yeah. Well, tight head and fullback, we've got 3 players in the squad. All 3 of them are injured in one way or another, and you're just like, it just makes no. And this is where we talk about the Gatland gap. We spoke earlier in the season where Scarlets lost Josh Hathaway to Gloucester, and he turned out for England under 20s on the weekend and had a hat trick. So we when we talk about where's that gap in players, that's where that gap in players is where we've got to have a consistent kind of development of players, and players know that they're going to get an opportunity. Not Liam Williams is going to get given another chance, and then Halfpenny is going to get given another chance to pull out the day before. And do you know what I mean? Those players need to be given an opportunity when they're playing well. You're on fire. There's a Welsh cap, and let's throw them in.
Even though England lost to Scotland on the weekend, that's what Borthwick has done there. He's looked at players who's on form in the English Premiership, and he's picked them. Yeah, the result didn't go their way, but it's a start of a new era for him, and it is the way to go. You've got to pick players who are playing to start and playing well. I mean, the fact that Blacker and Costello are not in this squad, it baffles me massively.
And you need a player like Dane Blacker with the just blasting pace to create damage, But there we go. That's what he's picked. So for me, I'd put David Jenkins in at second row instead of Alan Wynne-Jones. I'd move Morgan from 6 to 7. I'd drop Tipperick. I'd move Morgan over to 7, and I'd bring Shunza in just to give it a bit more bulk. Shunza can play 7 anyway, but he would give us that kind of bulk that I think we're missing now. I don't think we've got that big bulk of carrying.
Yeah, going into the front 5, I want to see David Jenkins play. I want to see Rhys Davies playing as well. I probably start with both of them. I know you'd say it's inexperienced at international level, but we've got nothing to lose. I mean, based on the performances of the weekend, we are clear wooden spoon contenders. So what's the worst that can happen? We finish 7th,
Yeah. So, it's going to be an interesting game this weekend. Interesting. Because Scotland have a habit of playing really, really well and then stuffing it up. And then just kind of, do you know what I mean? They don't have a habit of putting in consistent performances.
Yeah, so it's something I talked to my mate about. He's half Scottish, and it's always been the same. He's like, "Yes, smashed England, awesome." But we're going to lose last week, aren't we?
Yeah.
And it was just like, you can't really say anything against it. It doesn't matter how poor we perform, especially when Scotland beat England, because that's the World Cup final. Doesn't matter if they ever make a World Cup final. If it's not against England, they couldn't care less.
Yeah.
And it just emotionally, it drains them. And I think it just takes too much out of them.
So I guess it'll be interesting for Scotland to see how far they've come then, wouldn't it? This game against us is really important because they're clear favourites now, and they're kind of they're in a position that they haven't been for a long time. You remember a couple of seasons ago where the talk was of, sacking Townsend and bringing in a new Scottish setup and this, that and the other. And to be fair to him, he's stuck with what he's got. He's worked with the players and they're starting to develop a side that can compete at that top level. So, I think the pressure is all on Scotland to deliver. and it'll be interesting to see whether, whether it's whether last week's performance was we can get ourselves up for an England game and we'll always play well against England, or whether they can maintain that week on week and see how it goes.
I think a big thing this time around is the fact that they're playing us at Murrayfield. They're not coming down to Cardiff. They done the job on England in HQ. Yeah. So the home crowd, that sort of advantage, that the extra adrenaline it pumps into you, it wasn't there. And that's what they're going to get this week against us. So, I mean, that could be a deciding factor. But obviously, we'll have to wait to find out.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be an interesting one. Okay, so final predictions then. What's your prediction for the Wales game on Saturday?
As much as I would love to see us pick the same team and take a thumping again, I think it's going to be. I think we're somehow going to sneak it. I think it's going to be something like 24-22.
I agree. I think we're going to somehow just stop them from playing. They're going to have like 3 yellow cards and drop the ball over the line 6 times and all of that kind of stuff. And they're just going to rattle themselves and we'll just keep slotting penalties and we'll end up something like, 18-15 or 21-18. I don't think it's going to be a classic. I just think it's going to be one of those games where we wake up at 79 minutes and go, oh, look, we're in the lead. But welcome to the Gatland era. So there we go, mate. Right, I will post stuff from
the 20s.
Fuck, I've done it again, haven't I? Done it again. Anyway, so let's wrap up with the under 20s. So, what did you think of them last week, and what are you expecting from them this week?
I really enjoyed the game on Friday night. I thought it was a great game. And I've seen some of the, the post-match reviews or Ireland, blah, 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 rolled us over or whatever. I thought that game was a massive opportunity missed for our boys. They could have easily won that game if not a few decisions, if just a couple of things went their way. We were brilliant. And I'm really hoping that we kick on and go forward because, Ireland are the pace setters at all levels at the minute. And we really should have done them. I was really gutted that we did. I mean, the decision at the end, like the last minute of the game to kick the ball away from the restart when we could have, kept possession, gone for a try and got the 2 bonus points. I mean, that decision baffled me a little bit, but at the same time, these guys are under 20s. It's not. It's nothing major. From a Scarlets point of view, I was really impressed with Archie Hughes and Luca Giannini. Yeah. I thought Luca was a bloody nuisance everywhere, and Archie he just does what he does well. I mean, I think he was he set up. He was the final pass for 2 of our tries, and he was just everywhere. Yeah. And then having Harry Williams to come on, I mean, that boy's pass is phenomenal. It's like a bloody dollar.
Yeah, he's just everywhere.
I mean, when we go on then to look at the forwards, which is the front 5 forwards, which is generally our downfall. I mean, we didn't get as many players in there as I was hoping. But I think Thomas Pritchard, the tight end, he had a bit of a torrid time. He got put to the sword, and I'm not expecting him to come back this week just because it was a tune-in, and I think when you take those sort of beat-ins as a front row in that sort of in the age range, in that sort of structure, you need to take the time off to go back over all your basics, to really talk it through and to see what's gone wrong. Because as much as everyone thinks a scrum is boring or they don't understand it,
no one understands a scrum, mate. Nobody understands it.
Every proper knocker understands a scrum. No one else
haven't got a clue.
It's the only thing we've got a clue about. I'm telling you that much.
Front
But
row
no,
still need a 5'10" referee to tell them how to start a scrum. Crouch, bind, engage. Right, now you can start your scrum, boys. I mean, come on, nobody else on the pitch needs a referee to tell them how to do their job.
Yeah, because we need to set up before the ball's allowed to come in. I mean, line out, the hooker just throws it. You guys, you're just waiting. Oh, can the ball come in play, please? It's incredibly technical. It's not all muscle and all strength. Being a prop, it's not all about strength. It's not just pushing. It's incredibly technical. If you break it down, and at under 20s, at an international level, you need that time to understand what went wrong and how to improve, because you don't have that senior player who's more experienced above you to talk you through it. You've only got your coaches, which makes it a bit harder, if I'm in all honesty, because I've always preferred, coming on for a player and then being able to explain what's happening, what I need to do. Yeah. And I know I've said this before, but when you come into the under 20 level, you don't have no one to do that for you. You've got to work it out on your own, which makes it 10 times harder. So when you take a pace, then you need to take a step back and really review everything.
See, there'll be some people listening to this and they'll be having like sympathy for props and going, oh, bless, they have such a torrid time. And then there'll be those of us that have played the game that'll go, oh, shut up and get on with it, man.
You don't understand. All you want is a ball and to run. That's all you have to do. I mean, you're not even involved in the tackling half the bloody time.
Hey, I was back row. I give me a ball and let me run.
Back row behind the bench, yeah?
Yeah. Right. So, predictions for this week for the under-20s then. I didn't see the Scotland under-20s. I thought our under-20s in attack were superb. Defence, different matter. But, what do you make of what we expected in the Scotland game?
I'm not going to do a score prediction just because I didn't watch the Scotland under-20s. But I'm expecting a win for our boys. Even though the scoreline was pretty bad in the end, they should be pretty buoyed by that performance. And, all anyone wants is to go from one performance to another with some sort of progress. And if we show any sort of progress on that performance, we're winning that game.
Yeah, I think so. I think this Six Nations for under-20s and senior teams is going to be so close. I think at the end of the season, all sides will be kind of there or thereabout. I don't think there's going to be anybody way above and way below. I think that's the same with 20s and seniors. So, yeah, looking forward to this because it's Friday night again, isn't it? And
it's normally Friday night.
Yeah, that'll give us a good start to the weekend anyway. Right. So on that note then, am I done, mate?
I'll say yes, and then I'll let you talk a bit, and then I'll interrupt you.
Okay. On that note then, Martin.
Oh, wait, you forgot.
Shut up, you git. Right. On that note, I shall bid you farewell. Enjoy your rugby this weekend, my friend, and I shall catch up with you again next week. All the best.
See you next week, mate. Have fun.
Cheers, Matt. You have been listening to the Westerer is Besterer podcast from the Scarlet Supporters PEMS team. You can follow us on Twitter on Scarlet PEMS, find us on Facebook with Scarlet Supporters Pembrokeshire, or email us on scarletspems@gmail.com. And remember, West is best, but Westerer is Besterer. Cheers.
Sports Social Podcast Network.